All right, it is 7 o'clock, so I'm going to call the regular meeting of the County Council to order. First, we have an invocation. We're honored tonight to have Pastor John London with us from Hope Lutheran Church. Pastor John, if you'd come forward and lead us an invocation. If everybody please stand.
I would be glad to do that. Shall we bow our heads for a moment? Heavenly Father, for the gift of life and for all the blessings you bestow upon us, we are grateful. And on a gorgeous spring day like today, we're particularly aware of how blessed we are. So I thank you for the beauty of the land we live in, for the rich gift of freedom that allows us to gather as a community, for the freedom to engage in and help shape the future of our community, for the leaders who gather here this evening, who are committed to serve our community and our country. They serve because they have figured out what it means to be blessed so they can be a blessing. And a blessing they are. They give of themselves so our mutual journey through life might be a journey doing those things needed so our community might be an ever better place to live and raise our families. So, Father, for their willingness to give their time, their energy, their wisdom, rather than sitting on the sidelines and watching life pass by, I give thanks. Bless now this time together. May your presence prevail in discussions and the discerning. Let us never forget the richness of your love. May our lives always be lived with the assurance of your love and eternal provision. And I pray this in your holy and precious name. Amen.
Amen. Dave Hammond will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, we will have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Joe Cronin.
Here.
Councilmember Joe Brazel.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Elam.
Here.
Councilmember Mike Klinghammer.
Here.
Councilmember Dave Hammond.
Here.
Councilmember Terry Hollander. Councilmember John White.
Here.
Thank you. Next, we come to the public comment part of the agenda. By council rule, the way that this works is once a subject has been opened, we will allow a total of 6 speakers to talk on that subject, 3 in favor and 3 opposed to that particular subject. We will finish one subject first and then move on to the second subject. I have been contacted by Keith Hazelwood, who has asked, he has a presentation he would like to make during this portion. Keith said that his presentation is about 7 to 8 minutes long. Is there a motion of the council to extend the time frame to 7 to 8 minutes? Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay.
I oppose only if is this in favor of a certain subject or against a certain subject, or what is it?
I believe Mr. Hazelwood's going to talk about the intent of the charter from the perspective of when it was first drafted.
So we would afford the same time frame for somebody who would want to counter what his charter.
If a motion is made and seconded and voted in favor.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to give equal time to someone with an opposing perspective of what Mr. Hazelwood's going to say.
Mr. Brazel's made a motion that, do you have someone in particular or just?
I'm sure someone's out there that can speak on it. We have, I don't know, Senator Lamke is, I don't see him out here, but there'll be somebody out there that can speak on it.
Okay, motion's been made to give the opposing side the equal 7 to 8 minutes.
I think it's only fair I second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. Okay, so we will allow 7 to 8 minutes for, and it'll be the first speaker for this particular subject. Keith, you can speak first.
Should I proceed?
I'm sorry.
Should I go ahead? Yeah. Mr. Chairman, members of the council, Mr. County Exec, distinguished staff, my name is Keith Hazelwood. I'm here this evening to speak as a member of the Charter Commission, which in 1991 and 1992 drafted the St. Charles County Home Rule Charter. I'm going to try really hard to keep it down to that 7 to 8 minutes. My comments are truly meant to be historical. Do not want to get into red light cameras, about which I know very, very little. I'd like to ask you to take a look at either the PowerPoint slides or the handout, which was just given to you. The information that I'm using is actually from the charter as it was turned in to the County Election Authority on February the 19th of 1992. It is the charter that was voted upon April the 7th of that same year, and it became effective January 1st of 1993. So I want to share with you real quickly, in the course of doing our work as a charter commission back in 1991 and 1992, we contacted the Missouri Association of Counties to get the benefit of their experience and knowledge. They shared with us, one of the things they shared with us was the rule of threes. And that rule was it generally takes 3 times to get a charter passed. And living proof of that is probably, for example, one of our neighboring counties, Jefferson County, where it's taken at least 3 times for their charter to come into existence. The reason for that is the first time a charter comes forward, it's generally supported by reformers and people who want to do fairly traumatic changes to the body politic. And the voters, having a rather conservative mindset about these matters, will typically turn it down the first time. The second time you learn a little bit from your first lesson and you perhaps tone down the changes that are being made in the charter. The third time you go through it, you actually then get to the point where it is more acceptable to the electorate. We were trying very hard to avoid having to go through 3 charter attempts. We had one in 1976 that failed, and the 1991-1992 effort was our second one. I'd like to share with you, if I could, and I'd ask that the slide move. This is the table of contents from that original charter. I'm going to cover a few sections in there. You can see that in Article 10, there's actually a reference to intergovernmental relations, and I'll say a little bit more about that. But as you move to the next slide, what you see here is the preamble for the entire charter. And the purpose of a home rule charter is actually to accomplish an enhancement of the county's powers, so hence the yellow highlighting, home rule and greater self-determination. It may surprise many to realize St. Charles County, as a part of the state of Missouri, before it became a charter county, was limited to its powers as established by statute. And a prime example of that is St. Charles County government could not post a stop sign in any part of the county, unincorporated or anywhere else, until 1975, when the state legislature permitted it to do so. A home rule charter expanded those powers to get us to the point where we could enact provisions of a more localized nature. In the late 1980s and early 1990s, a couple other examples were, by that time, we had reached the point of wanting to discuss transit around the county. There was no authority that could be the central facilitator of that discussion. And our leadership had to go to Jeff City once again and have a law passed in Jeff City that allowed St. Charles County to have a transit authority. Similar situation with the convention center. In the late 1980s, early 1990s, as a convention center was being discussed, the county itself could not organize a central entity to facilitate that discussion. Had to go back to Jeff City, get the legislature, and that's quite a process, as anyone who follows legislative activities in Jeff City knows, had to work with that situation. and they eventually did grant us the power to form a sports facilities authority. Another set of circumstances that you get to improve on in a home rule charter is the structure of your government. Hence the green highlighting perfecting the structure of government. In 1816, when the state of Missouri wasn't even a state, it was a territory, and this was a territorial law. In 1816, the local government that occurred for the few counties that existed in the state consisted of 3 individuals. At that time, they were called county judges. 175 years later, in 1991, that was still true. So in 1991, the county had changed. It was considerably smaller in terms of geographic size. It was considerably larger in terms of population. In fact, it had, in that 1990 census, it had 213,000 people. And I hasten to add 140,000 of those 213 lived in municipalities. About 2/3 of the county was in a municipality. Now, when you have the home rule discussion, a basic assumption in that is we are asking the state to allow us to have these expanded powers to create the governmental activities, functions, and services that we need for our 213,000 residents. By virtue of that home rule request that we're reaching out for as we go to the voters, we are in essence saying we are going to minimize the involvement of Jeff City and increase the local decision making on these matters. Now, that home rule value is somewhat in play as you move into the discussion about the relationship between the county and the municipalities. So as you put yourselves in the shoes of the 14 charter commissioners back in 91 and 92, number one, you want to pay attention to 140,000 residents, and you want to make sure you're trying to address their concerns as well as all 213,000. And number two, you want to be mindful of the home rule situation, and you do not want to create a situation in the relationship between the counties, or between the county and the municipalities, that is similar to the one you're trying to get away from in the relationship between the state and the county of St. Charles. So let's factor in that these were the values that the 14 charter members had to deal with.
Is the motion to continue the clock for another 3 minutes?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. There's a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Continue, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, continuing on, let's go to the next slide. So, as we go to draft some particular provisions, you start to see the philosophy that I just expressed reflect itself in the charter provisions. So nothing herein contained shall be construed to give to the county of St. Charles any rights or powers or over or pertaining to cities, towns, or villages. An interesting little piece of history here. School districts were mandated by virtue of the Constitution. The county could not do anything with respect to school districts. As we got into the last month of our activities between mid-January and mid-February, the cities, towns, and villages came forward, both at the County Municipal League meeting of January the 16th, 1992, and in some ongoing conversations that we had with them, and requested that they be added into this section of the charter in addition to the school districts. Toward the end of that time period, the fire protection districts came forward and made the same request. None of those governmental entities wanted to be subjected to the possibility of the county putting the county in a position to mandate any rights or any functions or any services with respect to the incorporated municipalities. Now, we did say in pushback, we said to the municipalities, There are some matters that are countywide in their services. Voting, for example, is handled by the county for the entire county, as is assessment, as is tax collection, and so forth. So there are some things that the county, when it was in its first-class non-charter county status, had to continue to have, and we spelled that out in that language. In the spirit of trying to be done in my 3-minute extended timeline, I'm going to share with you that there are, in the handout, there are other charter provisions from the 1991-1992 draft that speak to not only an effort to keep the county from getting into the control of the municipalities, but that actually tried to enhance the cooperation of the governmental entities. You know, John Q. Citizen and Joan Q. Citizen, they are really looking for cooperation between governmental entities. They don't want friction. They don't want the resources wasted on fights over that sort of thing. So we built in, and you will see it in your handout, and frankly, you can start running the screen even faster, Jennifer. You can see that there are plenty of provisions in here that speak to encouraging cooperation between the county and the cities. So I think, Mr. Chairman and members of the council, I would suggest to you that as you deal with this bill, that you consider that, at least in the opinion of myself, and I think you may hear from another one of our original charter commissioners, John Haneke here, this bill may not be in keeping with the spirit of the county charter as it was drafted in 1991 and 92, and we think that that is an important consideration for you to weigh into the discussion on Bill 4082. Thank
Mr. Hazelwood, thank you for your comments. We certainly appreciate that. The subject has been raised or open now of the split of powers between the county and the cities. So we're going to ask that the next speaker limit themselves.
Hold on, you got to give me 6 minutes to count.
Yeah, they will.
Due to the 6 speakers after that, let the, you know what I'm saying? We made them.
I'm just saying we're going to curtail it right now to the separation of powers between the county and the city. That's what Keith spoke to, and that's what we're going to.
But I get it's my I have a person designated to do their 6-minute presentation.
Correct.
That's regardless of the 6 other speakers.
Correct. Do you have a person that's
Yeah,
ready to speak
I'm
on
going
that?
to have Matt Hay come up, and I'm going to hand him this. Carl Bearden was on one of the first county council members, and also a state rep. And he provided us with, he couldn't be here, had to go to a family function, and Matt's been involved with this with Carl on this issue, and we talked about the charter issue. He's going to read Carl Bearden's response to Mr. Hazelwood's response, and then talk a little bit about the charter and the Constitution.
Okay, well, Councilman Brazel, my name is Matt Hay. I live at 34 San Marino Parkway in Fenton, Missouri. As Councilman Brazel laid the predicate, I just wanted to read a portion of a letter that Carl Bearden had written, former County Councilman Carl Bearden, that was, to my understanding, involved with the administration of the charter as well. And he says, the Missouri Constitution is pretty clear about the authority of a charter county. The only political subdivision that it cannot control under statute are the school districts. The only limitation in St. Charles County is the charter itself. Now, it's true that it was written specifically to a large degree to voluntarily self-limit the county's power in order to assuage the cities. Because of this, the county council cannot pass an ordinance enacting the provisions of the charter amendment, which I think we all agree on. But the people most certainly can. The Constitution, the Missouri Constitution, as well as the charter itself, provides for processes to change the charter. The amendment obviously follows those procedures, which is why we're having that discussion this evening. So, I mean, basically, I think the last speaker, when he spoke to the spirit of the charter rather than the actual legal foundation, which I believe you'd find in Article 6, Section 18A and C of the Missouri Constitution, clearly lays out that what is being proposed this evening, which is not a unilateral action, would certainly comport with state statutes regarding the charter. And I think some of the discussion about municipalities being third and fourth class cities under the statutory guidelines of the state of Missouri, I think there's some credence needs to be paid to giving them basically de facto charter home rule city status versus their statutory third and fourth class city designations. But I can provide this if you'd like, but I have some documentation as far as the various provisions in the Missouri Constitution. I assume you've read those pertaining to charter counties and those powers. So I will save those for you and commence with the evening. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Now we'll flip back over to the pro side again. We'll recognize Mr. Pagano from the city of St. Peters.
Good evening. I'm Mayor Pagano from the city of St. Peters. And I thank you for the chance to speak to you tonight about a very important issue. It's not about red light cameras. I talked about that for 13 minutes at the Board of Aldermen's meeting last Thursday, which I sent each and every one of you a copy of that, and it explained all of the comments and so forth that was stated in the past. I'm here to talk about the county charter, the Missouri Constitution, and doing the right thing. It's pretty basic. You don't have to be a lawyer to figure it out what the right thing is to do. Tonight you're going to decide whether you think the county and its voters has a right to tell a city what to do. That's the bottom line. When it comes to the day-to-day operations of a city, the voters and the elected officials of that said city have the right to decide what to do for that city. The Constitution in our state gives each level of government specific rules. People decide to incorporate into cities because they want to decide themselves about what kind of city they want. How would you feel if you were the mayor of any city in St. Charles County and the county council decided to have the county voters choose whether cars be towed during emergencies, snow emergencies? Or how about fireworks? The county lets people sell, purchase, and shoot off fireworks. Some municipalities allow sales and shooting off fireworks. Cities like St. Charles only let you sell them and shoot them, but only for a few days. City of St. Peters, we don't allow sales, period. Would the council put a measure on the ballot allowing county voters to tell the cities they had the right to sell and shoot off fireworks in their cities? Doesn't sound right. How about fences? Let's say a city wants to allow chain link fences. Then some neighborhoods decide their covenants, they don't want chain link fences. They only want wood fences. That's where neighborhood associations come in, another level. They have the right to make those decisions. Should the county have the right to ask the voters across the county what kind of fences should be allowed in neighborhoods? What if the county voters decided only to allow fences like chain link fences? What happens to the residents in other cities that have wood fences? What happens to residents in rural parts of our county who have wire fences? Municipal voters are the ones who have the right to make choices for their city. County voters have a right to make choices for the unincorporated areas of the county. In Jefferson County, and I'd like to clear this up, in Jefferson County, there's an ordinance against red light camera enforcement in the unincorporated areas. The municipalities make their own decisions in Jefferson County. I've been elected official in this county since 1983. That's 31 years. I worked with St. Charles County for almost 10 years before it became a charter county. More than 20 years ago, I was a member of the Board of Aldermen in St. Peters, and I was a supporter of this county charter that was put up for an election. I'm proud of it. And I believed in our government to be good for their word. I believe that we're here. I can't believe that I'm back here now as a mayor and the county would be interfering with the operations of our city. Back then?
Mayor, if you could, right?
Yes.
Move it along.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you.
All I want to say is please think carefully about which road you take. Municipalities in St. Charles County and their voters should be allowed to make their own choices in their cities. And I do respect each and every one of you up there for what you do for our county. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Pagano. Appreciate that. We'll now hear from somebody that has an opposing viewpoint.
Good evening, Council. My name is Chet Bokey. I live in Harvester. John White is my council man. I've been a state representative. I went to St. Louis County Police Academy. I've been a police officer, reserve. Been various things in my life. Don't make me an expert. I know we got way too many laws, too many layers of law, too many illegal laws, wrong laws, emotional laws. But the bottom line appears to me this is about money, always has been. St. Peter's the last withholding one, I guess, trying to keep the red light cameras there for whatever reason, safety, money, whatever you choose to believe. They're the only ones around I know that has a double fine everywhere, double fine speeding zones, down hills and everything else. So it appears that, you know, money talks and you know what walks. I say let's be fair and reasonable, not emotional. You know, I've said before up here, not all laws are needed, not all laws are just, nor true, nor fair. And you got to ask yourself why, because a lot of laws get tested in the Supreme Court of Missouri or the United States. Thousands of laws are passed every year, just thousands of them. Little communities, villages, counties, big towns, little towns, and they go on the books and they're enforced or not enforced, or somebody says they're unenforceable, or they're just really not going to be looked at after a certain period of time. But we're here about one specific thing. County does have a certain layer of power over other cities. You know, talking about fences, there's a lot of different fences. Maybe we need some uniformity. It looks like a old Wild West, different wood fences and thousands of, I thought about that the other day. You need to look at that. But I'm certainly against repealing this ordinance, letting us vote on it. I think it's the right thing to do. Let the people speak. You know, we have a democracy, republic. We elect people and they don't always vote the way we want. Well, we're not all happy with the way you vote. I understand that. But some things are bigger than that, and this is one of them. I was just looking the other day, right there at Mexico Road in Jungleman. You see their little sign back there, you know, includes right turn lanes or includes turns. But there's such a thing as Missouri statutes of typical signage that is Missouri legal as far as height, size, colors, all kinds of things. I don't believe this even ever did fall under that, because any place that doesn't have a do not turn right up there on the red lights, the state law, I think Trump says you stop and turn right. But this little sign back there, back so far while you're trying to drive and look at signs all over the place, they don't have the information needed, I think, under Missouri state statutes of no right turn on red. Up there where you can see it. Not a little sign back here where somebody could be walking past it or, you know, whatever the deal is. So they've got $600,000, I don't know, per year total or whatever. But Mayor, you've collected pretty good money. Now, I'm not a victim, so I have no axe to grind, except what I think is honest, fair, and just. No law is actually a law per se until it's tested. I believe Steve Elman would say that.
In the interest of time, I'm going to ask you to wrap it up, please.
Am I on the 6-minute mark or 3?
I'm part of the 3.
Well, I thought we got to equal time. But the point being, I think we get the point. I think people need to vote on this because things can go down in little towns that really aren't right, but they get pass by until somebody finally challenges it. I think it's time to challenge a lot of things in the United States of America. You know, we don't need to be spied on either.
Thank you very much.
The way I feel about it.
Thank you. We'll now address someone that, we'll take the opposing viewpoint of the separation of powers between the county and the cities. John?
Good evening. My name is John Haneke. I was an original member, one of the 14 that was chartered by the circuit court to come up with a language that goes before the voters. We did that. It was voted in. And then I served with Carl Bearden on the administration of the first charter, okay, on this court. I'll try to make this short. When we were on a commission, a few self-imposed guidelines, one of which we would do everything possible during the charter development to keep the county from interfering with the operations of any other political entity within the county. Our approach was to meet with all the cities, towns, villages, fire districts, school districts, and we did that. In fact, I chaired a subcommittee to do that on several evenings throughout the county. The most vocal of the concerns that I heard were about the new charter, how the new charter would affect the operations of the entities. How would the county and the entities interface with one another? Would these entities become subservient to the county? Would the county become Big Brother? Several meetings were held throughout the county, as I said, and these meetings resulted in a short but meaningful, mutually devised statement, which Mr. Hazelwood went through, which was in agreement with everybody at the time we developed the wording. I know that during the development of the charter language, there was a concern for status quo autonomy among those types of political organizations, and I'm convinced that that's still there today. People want their autonomy. I thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Mr. Hanke. We'll flip back over to the other side. Mr. Steinhoff.
Good evening. My name is Bryce Steinhoff, and I'm a citizen of St. Charles County in the 6th District. Tonight, I urge you to pass Mr. Brazel's bill, which would allow the people of the county to vote on the red light camera issue. I think we're all aware that these devices are problematic. At best, they're safety neutral, and in many cases, they cause accidents to become more frequent. They simply can't combat the real reasons for dangerous red light running, impaired and distracted driving, which are best addressed by trained officers who can take those drivers off the road. However, none of that's really the issue here. The cameras violate the people's due process rights, and they outsource aspects of our judicial system to for-profit companies.
Right now, we're talking about the separation between the two. If we can,
and that is the bulk of my statement.
Thank you.
Plainly, their purpose is to generate revenue at the expense of just governance. Given these substantial problems, I believe that it's the county's duty to protect the citizens' rights from being infringed upon. That's the very role of government. The attorneys I've spoken with believe that this bill is on solid legal footing. The Missouri Constitution, the highest law in our state, gives county charters the ability to regulate the functions of its municipal governments within itself, and it's very clear about that. The legal arguments that I've seen to the contrary are, quite frankly, in my opinion, absurd. I've seen sections about the charter about regulating businesses and preventing duplication of services quoted. I've seen state statute in Chapter 88 cited, which is about public works, not about traffic regulations. None of these apply, and much less, they don't override our Constitution on this matter. A lawsuit against the county on this bill would be frivolous. Now, I understand one concern being weighed is how a move like this would impact the relationships between the county and the municipalities. When we became a charter county, there was something of a gentleman's agreement that the county wouldn't interfere much with the municipalities. And that was the case. The charter doesn't interfere much with the municipalities. However, that arrangement was made 22 years ago. I was 5 years old when that happened. The people reserved the right to amend their charter when they deemed it was necessary, and it's painfully obvious that they wish to do that now. The outspokenness that you've experienced on this issue is because people are passionate about this issue. I don't think it's always appropriate for the county to regulate the cities. But when the government is offending the rights of all St. Charles County citizens, it's appropriate. You represent us, your constituents, not the elected officials of the cities. We need you to exhibit courageous leadership and vote to protect us. And that's what a vote on this bill would do. It's a vote for standing up for the people instead of the municipalities. It's a vote against this bill would be a vote for government per usual, for the politicians protecting the politicians in the municipalities. You all have a choice tonight. I'd like you to be statesmen and protect our liberties, use your just role of government to do that, and pass 482. Thank you. 4082.
Looking at the issue of the separation of powers between the cities and the counties, we've now heard from both 3 people in favor and 3 people that have an opposing viewpoint or a different viewpoint in this particular case. I'll now open the floor up to another subject. This is a time when we can talk about the either advantages or disadvantages of red light cameras or any other subject that people would like to address. Mr. Dienoff actually had his hand up first. I'll let him approach now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of council. A.C. Dienoff, county resident. This is a combination of the separation of powers and also the red light camera bill number 4083, or 82, I'm sorry. There's a number of bills on the issue dealing with charter amendments. And I called last week for a charter review commission. I'm asking the county council, we need a charter review commission to make sure the government works for the people. In bill number 4006, a question to voters for a charter amendment pertaining to health and clean air. Over 80% of our county residents want to have the inherent right to vote on a charter amendment dealing with the Clean Indoor Air Act. But yet it's stalled before the council over about a 2-year period. And so it's about time that we put this question to the vote of the people. However, Mr. Brazel's proposed bill 4082 deals with another question that has some severe concerns to our county charter and our municipalities. Section 1.601 deals with restrictions in the county charter. And it states, nothing herein contained shall be construed as to give the county of St. Charles any rights or powers over pertaining to school districts, fire protection districts, or cities, towns, or villages that are not granted by law in first-class counties. Section 2.514, dealing with powers. On page 4, that section states, or things with the consent of the governing body of the affected city, town, or village, which means no law shall apply to those incorporated areas. And page 28 of our charter deals with section 10.501, intergovernmental relations. And it states that the laws of the county shall only apply to unincorporated areas of the county unless it deals with health concerns. And in this deal, the Clean Indoor Air Act deals with health concerns. The state statute is very clear. It deals with the traffic regulation code, and our state statute and our state legislature leaves all local traffic controls up to local cities, towns, and villages. It's very clear. The city of Darien Prairie, on Wednesday of last week, resolution 234, which I would assume you all received. It wasn't a part of the supporting documents, and I called the county council staff, and they said it wasn't going to be a part of that document, which needs to be disclosed to the public. But the city board of aldermen there opposed the red light camera issue by a vote of 6-0. The city of O'Fallon at Thursday's city council meeting, resolution 508, 2014E, opposed by a vote of 10-0 the red light camera issue going on the ballot. And what about the $1 million price tag for litigation? To pay for a county counselor, to pay for outside litigators, and to pay the city of St. Peter's costs. You need to look at the long-range picture of local decision making. This is an erosion and intrusion of local government of the county to our towns, villages, and municipalities. The state legislature is dealing with this issue this week, and I'm sure there will be a positive banning of red light cameras. Nobody in this county that I know is for red light cameras.
The chime has gone off, Mr. Dienoff.
Okay,
so
but the
please
policy needs to be dealt with statewide rather than piecemeal. And so I oppose the red light cameras, and I ask you to support the Clean Indoor Air Act to give voters a right to vote on that. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Dinoff has brought up the issue of the Clean Air Act. Does anybody else want to talk about the Clean Air Act?
We're still on the red light cameras, aren't we?
Well,
We just started with the first, he was
yeah,
the,
kind of covered everything. Let's. Arnie was in opposed to the red light cameras, so we will allow anybody that's in favor of red light cameras to speak now.
red light camera ban, in favor of the ban. He was opposed to the ban.
Yeah, he was opposed to the ban. All right, somebody's in favor of the ban. But he didn't like the cameras either. So. All right, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Bob Onder, Lake St. Louis. I'd like to read a statement by my former Missouri House colleague and former Senator Jim Lemke, who was a leader in this issue in the state Senate. And he can't be here tonight because he's lobbying on this issue. Red light cameras are not about safety, they're about enforcement. The General Assembly has long established in state statutes laws promoting the safety of Missouri drivers. The laws applying to moving violations with assigned penalties are time-tested deterrents to careless and imprudent drivers. Watering down current law by defining a moving violation as a parking ticket certainly will not make Missouri roads safer. Red light cameras are not about enforcement that generates revenues. Are about enforcement that generates revenues, not safer intersections. When government uses any form of enforcement that treads on the rights of the governed, it is time for the people to stand against such overreach. Government must be on the side of individual liberty if we are to remain a free people. Missouri courts have now, with numerous decisions, affirmed that red light camera enforcement goes too far in treading on the rights of Missouri drivers. The courts have also said that local ordinances are in direct conflict with state statute. I am asking the council to give the people by whom they were elected to have the opportunity to decide just what kind of enforcement power they will grant their government. As Jefferson penned in the Declaration, government's just power comes from the consent of the governed. Thank you.
Very much. Appreciate the comment. Next we'll hear from someone that would like to speak against the ban.
Sign anything before you come up and speak over here?
There is a speaker card over here that we'd ask if you didn't fill it out beforehand, fill it out when you're leaving. Anybody else that would like to speak against the ban? Against the bill that's before us tonight?
Well, Councilmember Dan Hyatt, I've spoken to you before. Last month there were questions on constitutionality and such of this ordinance, and I read to you the Missouri Bill of Rights. This is the first two paragraphs of the Missouri Constitution. That all political power is vested in and derived from the people, not from the city of St. Peters. That all government originates from the people, is founded upon their will only, and is instituted solely for the good of the whole, not for the good of St. Peter's pocketbook and Redflix, a corrupt company who is currently under federal indictment. Second paragraph, Section 2 says all persons, all, not just the people of St. Peter's, the people of Missouri, and the people of St. Charles, all persons have a natural right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and the enjoyment of the gains of their own industry. This means that I should be able to drive down any major road in Missouri without worrying about the local city hijacking my pocketbook. It goes on to say that to give security to these things is the principal office of government. And when government does not confer the security, it fails in its chief design. Since St. Peter's is a fourth-class city with privileges, not power, they do not have, the people of St. Peter's don't have the power to vote. The next step up is the county of St. Charles, where the people have the power to choose. Article 1, Section 1, Missouri Constitution, show me a law that is higher than the Bill of Rights of the state of Missouri, which gives the people who use those roads, not just a few people in a town of, 15,000, and a mayor who's looking for a new tax method, and a corrupt company that's going to take half of the money out of Missouri and going to do robocalls to trick people. Why don't they want an election? Because so far, the only election red light companies have won in the United States was when the police went door to door and said the police department is going to go away, disappear, if you vote out red light cameras. The people do not want red light cameras. The people are the power. Please do not deprive the people of the power to say red light cameras do not belong in St. Charles County. They do not belong in Missouri. And fourth-class cities are not the superior power, as they keep claiming over and over and have been beaten in the courts, that they are the superior power to all of their law in the United States and Missouri. And I have heard them say that. They claim their ordinances are superior law within their boundaries. Those are the appeals court rulings that they lost. No, Missouri law is superior. It also says in 3040104 that that notwithstanding blah, 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 and any other provisional law to the contrary, city, towns, and villages may regulate speed of vehicles, and they're referring to the authorization of traffic ordinances. But it's, I'm sorry, I can't find it, but it's inferior to all other laws. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next. Next, we'll hear from someone that's in favor of bill number 4082. The lady in the white and red first.
Good evening, Chairman. Good evening, council members. My name is Catherine Dreher, and I live in District 3 of St. Charles County. I'm here tonight to encourage you to vote in favor of putting to a vote of the people a countywide ban on red light cameras. I want you to vote on this tonight.
Wait.
Oh,
You're in
was this
favor
supposed
of
to
it.
be? Yes.
Right now, we're going to have somebody that's opposed to it.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Okay. We're alternating back and forth. Yes.
Don't go away. You're going to come right back.
You'll be next.
Stay comfy.
Thank you. And I have a document here that I'd like to give to the clerk to hand out to the members of the council.
Okay.
My name is Lisa Bedian. I am a resident of the city of St. Charles, but I am the director of communications for the city of St. Peters. The document that I'm handing out is a letter that was received this morning for Mayor Len Pagano from James Saunders, who's the president and CEO of Red Flex Traffic Systems. I'm not going to bore you with reading the whole thing. I'm just going to read one sentence because there's been a lot of misinformation put out there and we need to refute it. The bottom of the first page, the second sentence, the last paragraph. Red Flex has not been indicted and we are not under investigation in 13 states, as a recent news release indicated. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now you're up.
All right, good evening again, council members, chairman. My name is Catherine Dreher, and I live in District 3 of St. Charles County. And I'm here tonight to encourage you to vote in favor of putting to a vote of the people a countywide ban on red light cameras. I want you to vote tonight to put this charter amendment on the August 5th ballot and to not table this. Red light cameras are a direct violation of our civil liberties. In our Missouri Constitution, Article 1, Section 18A states that among the rights of an accused in criminal prosecutions is the right to demand the nature and cause of the accusation and the right to meet the witnesses against him face to face. Red light cameras strip away our right to due process. Since when is a camera in and of itself a witness to a crime? Since when do we allow a for-profit organization to be involved in our judicial system? These red light cameras are a gross infringement of our civil liberties, and we must be allowed to protect ourselves from them. I am outraged that the city of St. Peters made the decision to tie its senior transportation program to revenue obtained through the civil rights violations of our county citizens. Not only are they funding this program through illicit means, but they are doing so by partnering with a company that is under a federal indictment for bribery in 13 states. I think St. Peters has some explaining to do to its citizens who rely on their senior transportation program. Now, the Missouri Constitution gives you the authority to make this decision. The county charter gives you the authority to make this decision. So let's be clear on what that decision is. It is not a decision for the county to ban red light cameras. It is a decision for the county to give we, the people, an opportunity to vote on whether or not to ban these red light cameras on our streets. We pay the taxes for the roads. Therefore, we should have the chance to remove any and all violations of our civil liberties that occur on our streets. Will you give us that chance? I encourage you to remember who you serve. It isn't the money-making interests of an outside corporation. It isn't other governmental bodies within our county. You serve us, the people. And we need you to help us protect our liberties. So do what's necessary at this time and pass Bill 4082 tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody for their comments. By council rules, we've had speakers on both sides of the argument now, both sides of the discussion.
I would like to, there's been a lot of people that haven't spoken. I would like to make a motion to allow a few more speakers since we don't often have this much attention in the council meeting, so I'd like to make a motion to allow possibly 6 more speakers. We do this a lot when we have done this a lot when there's vibrant issues.
There's been a motion made to allow up to 6 more speakers. Is there a second to that motion? I like hearing from second. I'll second the motion myself. I don't have a problem with more public comment. I will limit it to 6 more though. Motion's been made. I seconded it. Is there? How many are in favor of it? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Say nay.
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 I voted yes. You voted yes. So we have 1, 2, 3 yeses and 1, 2, 3 noes.
It fails because under your council rules, to suspend any provision of your council rules, you need a vote of 2/3 of your sitting members. You need a vote of 4 to pass the motion.
Okay.
All for a week now.
Can we have discussion on the motion?
We can have further discussion. I thought it was going to go through. But
Even if you folks aren't in favor or against the red light cameras, you should never limit debate. You should always let people talk.
Thank you. We do appreciate the applause. We're here by ourselves, but if we can keep it down for just a moment, we're going to procedurally we'll move this along.
I'd like to make a motion for a recount, please. If there's any more
I'd like to end this discussion a bit.
Mr.
I'm
Cron-
fine with hearing if there's something more new to be added to the discussion, but I'm hearing the same thing over and over. I got something.
Just a minute. Okay. Any further discussion? Dave, are you all right with?
I'm all right to let it go on.
Yeah, I would like to hear more.
Okay. We'll take a revote on the same motion made by Mr. Brazel, seconded by myself. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Okay, we will have up to 6 more speakers. I will ask that the speakers try not to repeat the items that have already been made, and we'll look at things from different points of view. Sir, you're next.
I appreciate the time. My name is Greg Zott. I'm from Imperial, Missouri. I'm against red light cameras. They're about revenue, not safety. And here's the problem that nobody's brought up. A lot of these municipalities, they take the money and they use the money to provide services. So in essence, they need to keep the revenue generation coming in, which would lead to corruption where they shorten red light or the yellows. I got 6 cities that were caught shortening red lights, and they were fined: Chattanooga, Tennessee; Dallas, Texas; Nashville, Tennessee; Union City, California; Springfield, Missouri; and Arnold. So that's one of the big problems, is it leads to corruption. They need the money, so they need the revenue stream to keep coming through, so they'll shorten the red lights. May or may not do it, but they could do it. So it's the thoughts in their mind. So that's about all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. The next speaker, I saw the man in here in the gray T-shirt, got up several times. He's next, and sir, in the blue blazer, you'll be next.
My name's Ray Vance of St. Peter's, and I'm opposed to red light cameras with mixed emotions. I recognize their potential to make our intersections safer, but I've experienced the hazards that they cause at night, because I've been nailed by one making a right-hand turn without coming to a complete stop, and it does really fraze you, and somebody's going to get hurt. So that's my main reason for opposing them, other than the revenue going out of state. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments.
Good evening. May it please the council. I rise in favor of Bill 4082, and I'll be brief because you guys have heard most of what I was going to say. But two of the things that have been said before, one is the quote from the Missouri Constitution where it says that government is established to protect the liberties of the individuals which it governs. And if it doesn't do that, it fails in its chief design. I believe that's what you are here tonight to talk about. The other thing that was mentioned earlier was the right to due process, the right to confront our accuser. That is my primary concern with red light cameras, is that the accused does not have the right to confront their accuser. Now here's the part that I don't think we've heard this evening. In the charter, the quote was made, "Nothing in this charter shall preempt the power of any local government to license, tax, and regulate in accordance with the Constitution and applicable law." In accordance with the Constitution. If I am correct, and if the prior speaker is correct, that red light cameras deprive the alleged perpetrator of their constitutional rights to due process and their constitutional rights to confront their accuser, then this is operating outside of the Constitution and not in accordance with the Constitution. And thus, I don't think that part of the charter is operative in this case, and I think you have every right to place this issue before the voters as suggested in House Bill 4082, and I encourage you to approve it this evening. Thank you.
In the interest of being fair to both sides, is there anyone else that would like to speak out against the bill that's before us tonight? Okay. We'll have another person that's in favor of the bill that's before us.
Hello. My name is Matthew Bell. The first thing that I would like to say, and this is contrary to the lady who is the representative of St. Peter's, the emailed statement from a company that has been accused in a media report of crimes and indictments, I think scarcely rises to the level of a counter-assertion, certainly not a refutation. I don't know whether they've been indicted or not, but it's certainly clear that we're not going to sort of take their word for it that they're not indicted, I would hope. But the other thing is, we can have sort of this discussion of, do cameras improve safety? Do they not improve safety? Yellow light timing is another issue, and so on. But I'd like to submit that just like in employment law, as it said, at-will employment can be terminated by the employer for a good reason, a bad reason, or no reason at all. I would suggest, firstly, that when the people say, look, I don't want a camera, and this is certainly, I think the comparison with fences is ridiculous, because fences don't take your picture when you pass through St. Peter's, resident or not. Okay, so for a good reason, bad reason, or no reason at all, I think the people are clearly, in this room in any case, against it, and it ought to be put to a vote. But finally, even if it could be shown that traffic cameras do improve safety, even if it could be shown, let's grant that it does, still, if the county were to propose requiring people to forego driving in a rainstorm, I'm sure we could get the Department of Transportation up here to tell about how unsafe the roads are when they're wet, wouldn't follow that we should submit a ordinance that forbids people from driving in a rainstorm, even if it would save lives and so on. The point that I'm making is just because even if it was shown that the cameras improved safety, it wouldn't follow that we have to pass them. Again, we have to have a balance. What are the people willing to put up with in terms of a reduction of what they perceive to be their liberties, their privacy, call it whatever you want. And again, I think that has to be stacked against whatever positives. So, again, I just say, let the people, put it to the people, and if need be, there's an interplay between the charter and the municipalities, well, put that to a vote as well. Let the people decide what the power of the county should be, and you, representatives, follow the will of the people. Thank you.
Okay, and we are now going to have our last speaker of the evening on this particular subject.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. My name is Joe Wetter. I reside in the city of St. Charles. I get the sentiment of big government telling the little government what to do. When the debate was going on about the smoking ban, I stood here in front of you and made an argument against it. And now you might wonder why I'm standing in front of you now arguing for a countywide ban on these red light cameras. And throughout the debate the last couple weeks, I've been seeing some things said that kind of comparing it to the smoking ban. You were for the smoking ban, now you're against it. Or trying to compare it to that. Mayor Pagano is trying to compare it to Brazel getting bit by a pit bull and Brazel trying to ban it countywide, or the county council or the residents of the county trying to ban people from having a certain fence. But I think there's a grave misunderstanding in the two cases between the red light cameras and the pit bull and the fences. You can't compare them. They're completely different things. It all boils down to what is public and what is private. These roads are public roads that are paid for by taxation by the citizens, and therefore we should have a say in how they're regulated, especially when they affect our individual rights to due process. It is, to reiterate what some of these gentlemen have said and what Catherine has said, it is your job as the government, your number one role is to protect our rights. We give you power. Your power comes from us, and we give it to you to protect our rights. And when a small government steps on our rights, it's your duty to come in and to stop it. And lastly, what I'd like to say is, if these red light cameras are about safety, and they were put there to make intersections more safe, then theoretically, Red Flex and ATS would be broke. They wouldn't have any money because people would be stopping at the red lights, and City of St. Peters wouldn't have any money coming in from these tickets. But that's not the case. The City of St. Peters has all kinds of revenue coming in, and all kinds of revenue is funneling out of the state into the coffers of Red Flex and ATS. And again, please do the right thing and let the people vote against these cameras. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wetter. Okay, we're going to close the public comment on the red light issue at this time. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to talk about another county issue, anything else? We're opening it up to any other subjects at this point. Okay. Seeing none, we'll close the public comment part of the agenda. The next on the agenda is the oral report from the county executive.
Mr. Chairman, I was going to make a report on some battles that Councilman White and I have been fighting down at East-West Gateway, but given the hour and the interest in these other topics, I'm going to wait until the next meeting to do that. One thing I do want to mention on your agenda is number 4090 with the community college. That basically is an agreement with the college to use some property that they own behind the college, and we're going to go ahead and turn that into a park, put a Frisbee golf course and so forth. I see Mr. Hazelwood is leaving. Is that to avoid further questioning?
Keith, you better leave, I think, really.
Well, I thought when we got to the bill, I was gonna ask him a couple questions, but perhaps I can ask now before he leaves.
No, I'll stay. Your schedule allow you to stay, Mr. Hazelwood? Okay. I think he's
sorry, I didn't intend to do that. I just saw him leaving out of the corner of my eye.
I think his schedule allows him to stay, so he'll be available for questions later. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that, and we'll look forward to your report at the next meeting. Next, we have the consent agenda. Is there any items that people would like to pull off of the consent agenda for separate discussion?
Mr. Chair, I would like to pull off for discussion the transport change order number 2, and specifically ask John Greifsue to explain what this service is.
Okay.
Second.
We'll pull that one off. You know what? I think that's going to be relatively quick, so why don't we go ahead and just address it now?
I need an all-emotion.
John, basically all I want to know, it's $125,000, and I've read through it, and it's pretty technical, so I would appreciate if you give us just a quick summary of what that is.
Primarily, the 125 is for additional ongoing maintenance for the Gateway Greenlight program. The majority of those costs is for a contract person to monitor the Gateway Greenlight infrastructure during the peak hours. So if there's an accident on I-64, that this person would be in place that could adjust the signal timing during those events. And so this will provide that service for the next 2 years.
Reading it was basically 75% county and 25% MoDOT?
Correct.
Like okay. Would this be a continual thing then, year after year, or will we ever do this in-house, you think?
That's a good question. The first 2 years, wanted to see how effective it is, measure, put some performance targets, make sure that we are getting good value, and that we can provide some quantitative measurements of we reduce delay by 10% or some of these performance targets. And from there, we'll evaluate then, should we hire this person full-time as a county employee, or does it make sense to continue it as a contract position, and how that should be funded going beyond this 2-year period.
So it's probably pretty critical to have this in place for the initial rollout then.
That's the thought, is that it would be nice to have this person in place, get them trained, get them involved with our municipalities as well as our county government folks and MoDOT as infrastructure is being put in place, and that's the timing of this bill.
Okay, so essentially what this person will do is if you have, like exactly what you said, if there's an accident somewhere in the county, they can actually change the lights and get the traffic to move around that accident to
Correct. This would be our point guard. So when he observes something that's occurring, or if MoDOT or something's called in through one of our first responders, this would be our point person, regardless if it's an unincorporated or any of the municipalities or on MoDOT system, to start making some adjustments and getting that contact to other people that be involved in rerouting of traffic.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
John, thanks for the summary on that. Does anybody have any further questions on that particular item?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the consent agenda as presented. I'm sorry, roll call vote? No, acclamation, I'm right. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Okay, next we move on to bills for final passage. Bill number 4082.
Bill number 4082, an ordinance calling an election on August 5th, 2014 to amend the St. Charles County Charter in order to prohibit the use of red light cameras throughout St. Charles County within as well as outside incorporated municipalities.
Mr. Allen.
Could I ask a question to Mr. Hazelwood now?
Yes, please.
Keith, can you?
All right, Steve, actually, no, I would like to make a motion first to offer the substitute bill that legal counsel worked on to solidify our legal position. As I talked to you council members, and this.
It's up to the chairman how he wants, what order he wants to do it.
I actually recognize Steve first. Joe, we'll come back to yours in just a moment.
Mr. Hazelwood, you know, there aren't a whole lot of us that were around when all this started, but you and I both were. I just have probably 3 or 4 quick questions here. The first, again, just Article 6, Section 18. It's been mentioned, but nobody's read it. It says the charter may provide for the vesting and exercise of legislative power pertaining to any and all services and functions of any municipality or political subdivision except school districts in the part of the county outside incorporated cities. And later on it says may provide for the vesting and exercise of legislative power pertaining to any and all services. I mean, whatever the charter says, it's a constitutional charter. Is there any way that the charter can override that language in the Constitution?
I believe that the grant of this power to provide for the vesting and exercise of legislative power pertaining to any and all services means that it would have to be stated in the charter. This charter is granting the county who is seeking the home rule the...
why would it have to be stated in the charter? It's already in the Constitution.
No, it says the charter may provide.
Okay,
so,
all right.
So I think those 4 words would require that something be said in the charter about the vesting.
But can't the charter be amended to provide?
Oh, yes, it could.
Okay,
yeah,
and that's what we're talking about tonight, right?
Right. Now,
okay.
Yeah,
there's nothing in the charter right now that would allow the council or the county to do any of these things. And in fact, you know, it says the language in 1.601, nothing herein contained shall be construed.
Right.
Now, is it your reading that means nothing contained in the ordinance now, or nothing that might be put in the future? I mean, the original charter, this was kind of part of the deal. I remember that.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But does that mean by putting this in, we're forever banned from amending that language?
Well, I think that the charter can certainly be amended. Can the charter be amended to revise Section 1.601? I'm sure that's the case. I think that what the charter commissioners certainly felt, and by the way, Steve, I'm not here tonight to talk about, I'm not here to play lawyer tonight.
No, I know, but you know, I'm sure, I know that you've thought about these things.
Yes.
That's why I want to ask you.
And what I want to suggest to all of us is there would not have been a charter had these provisions not been clearly stated in this fashion.
I would agree with that.
So if we want the benefits of home rule charter government for the county, it seems to me we have to accept the notion that would never have come about in 1991-92. That's why that Rule of Threes is in existence. I believe charters themselves have an uphill climb with all the issues they've got to get over, but let's not get lost on that discussion.
People in the United States changed their mind about prohibition. Can't the people of St. Charles change their mind about that?
And I think that if they did that, we'd have to see what the consequences.
So then my question is, can we get around any problem when we amend, or we take the bill, and we also amend or get rid of this section right there, 1.601, asking the people basically to delete that,
right.
And then that would eliminate any argument that
could.
Somehow the charter limits what we can do in the future.
You could.
Okay, and then the next thing is it your argument that the charter can't limit the power of a city or the county or a fire district?
Is it my argument?
Yeah.
It is my argument that the spirit of the charter.
No, I know the spirit.
Yeah.
I know the spirit, and I agree with you that
the
spirit 15 years ago, or it's almost 20 years ago now, I agree 100%.
Now, I am going to pull the classic lawyer reaction. That's an issue for competent lawyers to present to judges and courts and have a decision made on. I'm not sure my opinion means much. I certainly think this charter can be amended.
But what you're saying, it can be amended, but the problem here is that we're somehow limiting the power of a city.
Yes.
Didn't the original charter limit the power of the county in terms of getting involved in annexation controversies?
Yes.
Did anybody at that time argue that we can't limit the county's power?
No, but I will say, in fairness, the charter commissioners recognized that some of those approaches would have a judicial resolution.
And eventually, we went back to the voters,
Yes.
asked them about,
Right.
about that thing, and I think 60 or 70% said, yeah, we want
Yeah.
the county to have that right that they always did have, but was taken away from them in the charter.
Yeah. Now,
Okay, last thing.
all right.
Last thing, and what I remember most about this, explaining it to people, you know, we had several bills in Jeff City clarifying things that, for the city's benefit, that
Solid
applied
waste.
only to St. Louis County, wouldn't apply to us. We did all those things. But what I remember the most is the idea that we need to do a charter so we don't have to go to Jefferson City to get the changes we want. And, I mean, would you agree that was a big part of it?
That was certainly a big part of the discussion. I would say, as you weigh in balance, at least to a lot of people, it's probably equally important to get a county executive in place who handled
I understand.
and to get a county council who did legislative things. So those structures.
But before the charter, we
changes
couldn't have done that without special legislation in Jefferson
Absolutely.
City.
Yes.
Now, let me ask you this. If you're artful in drafting it so it's not considered special legislation, couldn't you, even today, go to Jeff City and get a bill banning red light cameras in St. Charles County only?
I'm here tonight to be a charter commissioner, not a legislator, but
All right.
I must.
You're a good sport, Mr. Hazelwood.
Well, and
thank you.
And I got to tell you, I think that there are things happening in Jeff City, and maybe we'd all benefit from letting those things take their course. But anyhow,
Michael, I'd like to be afforded to ask Mr., are you going to leave, Keith?
I'm at the county executive.
Well, let me ask you a couple questions, and I'll be easy,
Okay.
all right? Mhm.
Surely won't be as hard as this question.
No, those are good questions. But I got Steve's point, he's right on.
They'll be passionate, I know.
Now, you remember, now, Keith, you represent the municipal league, correct? Your
No,
firm.
I'll have to ask Weber or Young.
Okay,
I
all
don't
right,
know the
all right,
answer.
besides that, okay, so.
Not to my knowledge.
Do you remember, and I've been on this council a lot longer than you guys, do you remember back in the late 90s, early 2000s, you remember the Proposition S, right? That's what Steve's referring to. Annexations. It was a charter amendment, Proposition S.
Yeah, I have.
And a lot of cities were doing shoestring annexations, railroad annexations, things that we felt were illegal. Then they finally, the straw that broke the camel's back is when they used eminent domain on Shirley Dotson's farm. Remember that?
Sort of. Yeah.
Well, the municipal league and the attorneys and everybody in every city was adamantly opposed. And it was the same kind of fight. Adamantly opposed to us making a charter amendment. Same thing, threatened with lawsuits, everything else. And as Steve said, we put it on the ballot. We didn't pass an ordinance and just do it. We put it on the ballot to change the charter.
Right.
And at that time, we did that. And it was passed overwhelmingly by over 75% of the voters because it was the right thing to do. And this is the exact same situation.
Well, I'll say it's.
But I mean, you don't.
It's difficult for me to draw analogies that are on all fours with what you're saying. The debate here, it seems to me, is can red light cameras be banned by vote of the people? Absolutely. Should the vote of the people occur at the county level, or should it occur at the St. Peter's level, is the discussion that I'm inserting myself into.
Okay. No, that's fine. I get it. I just wanted to.
Just,
yeah. Okay, that's
annexation
fine.
is
yeah.
maybe got a different set of.
For the council, I'd like to make a motion to offer substitute bill 4082. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, so right now we've kind of reopened
Am I still at the
cross-examination
podium, or
of
do I-
Mr. Hazelwood, so.
Let's get some of these worthy speakers.
Mr. Cronin, you get a shot at Mr. Hazelwood.
I've got a little different take on this that I'd like your
Yeah.
opinion of,
Sure.
okay? The oath of office that we all take, okay, and it's a pretty short oath of office, but it states that the key portion of our oath that we take when we become council members is, I solemnly swear to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, the laws of the United States, state of Missouri, and the charter. So as a council member, I solemnly took that oath, and I take that oath very seriously. But when I read, Missouri Revised Statutes, which is state law, it clearly states cities of the fourth class shall have and exercise exclusive control over all streets, alleys, public highways within limits of such city. That's in state law. So in the charter, clearly states that nothing in this charter shall preempt the power of any local government to license, tax, and regulate, okay? In your opinion, if we support this, okay, are we violating our oath of office? I know that's a tough one, but that's a tough decision I've been wrestling with.
That's an unfair question.
Yeah,
If you were,
I mean, I, for the moment, I don't want to talk about red light cameras. I know next to nothing about them. Couldn't tell you the merits or demerits of them. I'm ready to talk about what the history, what happened in 1991 and 92 that caused this set of provisions that exist in the charter to be there. You know, there are other guys in my firm that could probably talk to you for hours about the question you just asked.
Okay, I think the question's been asked, and Mr. Hazelwood has been kind enough to give us the answer of he doesn't know at this point, or, and we'll take that as his answer. Mr. Hazelwood, thank you very much. We appreciate your candor and your comments back to us.
I want to reiterate what the mayor said, and I hope the citizens agree. Thanks for everything the six of you do, and Councilman Hollander and the county exec. Being an elected official is tough duty. Thanks.
Thank you, Keith. Appreciate it. Okay. There is a substitute, but I'm looking to see if there's any other discussion before the substitute. Okay. Mr. Presley.
I'd like to make a motion to introduce substitute bill 4082.
Okay. Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. I think we need a roll call vote.
That's all those in favor.
You want a roll call vote for this? For the
That's all right. I'm sure it's going to pass. All in favor of accepting the substitute bill 4082, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, Joe, I haven't read it yet, so tell me what's different between this substitute 4082 and original 4082.
The council members were throwing some concerns, and the municipal league put out some statements, and actually, we appreciate the fact that you guys pointed out some of these things to us, so we changed the ordinance to have more solid ground. Harold, do you want to answer some of Mike's questions on some of the changes you made from the last bill to the new bill?
Yeah, very briefly, what this substitute bill does is align the original bill more clearly under the provisions of the second paragraph of Section 18C in the Constitution to expressly provide for how the bill or the provision would limit to the extent that it does the authority of the cities to regulate traffic on their streets and how it would be financed. That's it in a nutshell. In the first whereas or recital, there are some smaller historical and editorial changes. But of course, a recital is not the operating part of the ordinance. And that's the sum total of the substitute bill in front of you.
Okay. On page 5, the prohibition is only limited and imposed by this charter upon the county or municipality within the performing their functions of regulating traffic imposes no additional cost to be financed. Question mark. That's the ballot language that will actually...
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
the bold language is the new language.
Okay. Is there any other questions about the content of proposed bill, the proposed substitute bill 4082?
I'd like to...
My question would be, why is it important to do this in August rather than November?
Mr. Brazel?
Yeah, I'd like to address that. As I told you, some of the council members, I sent you an Excel spreadsheet, and in that Excel spreadsheet, it states all the lawsuits that ATS and Redflex, every time a ballot issue goes on the ballot, it's challenged for whatever reason by the red light camera companies. And so what that would do if we push it to November, two things. It would possibly go to an election that would cost us several $100,000. If we do it at this time, in August or November, pushing it to November, not going to the next time. We have time to correct if we need to make some corrections in November if there's some kind of court injunction or some sort of problem. But that's one reason, and other reason is it's just time to get this going and get it done. It does nothing to push this off to November. But there are a couple of things I want to address, if I may so do so. I want to go over kind of some things. I got
Joe, if we could, before we follow, I want to have a follow-up question to your answer. You said that it would, if we push it off to November, it would cost several $100,000.
No, what I said was, is there's an Excel spreadsheet that I'd given you folks on, right here, on all, it's in your packets, all the lawsuits that for whenever it goes on a ballot, the red light cameras challenge it.
Okay.
They do some kind of injunction.
I'm sorry, I thought you indicated that it would putting it on the ballot in November would be.
It could potentially push it to an election where it would, if we have court issues or problems where we get challenged, we get an injunction, we get some sort of something from bearing it in that November ballot, it will push it to an election where it would cost $100,000.
Okay, I follow you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to go over a couple things here. I'll try to be brief as possible, but the reason why this all came about is I went to a seminar the Liberty Project had in St. Peter's, and I had no idea about these red light cameras. I didn't like them, but I didn't think there was anything we could do about them. And then after learning some of the facts, I came back to my office and I called our secretaries and I said, could you obtain some of this information? So we started obtaining information about these red light cameras. We would call St. Peter's. St. Peter's provided us with the information. We didn't tell them what we were looking for. We just said, look, we want to have 2 years of accident reports prior to your red light cameras being installed and 2 years after. Sergeant, it's on your paper, a sergeant from the police department sent it over. Well, it showed that it was a 30% increase in accidents and injuries. That's a fact. So then you go to some of these other studies like Kansas City. Across the board, I send the council is, in most cases, if not all, it shows an increase in injuries and accidents, and it's mainly because of rear-end collisions. So that's a fact. So this is not about public safety. So let's just get that out there. This is not about public safety whatsoever. In fact, it's quite the opposite. The other thing is City of St. Peter's, there was a gentleman did a Freedom of Information on City of St. Peter's from 2013 to 2014. I have all the information and the council was provided this. They issued in 2013 to 2014 7,500 tickets on 11 cameras. Okay? If you also go on and read the information, and I sent you, they charge $115 per ticket, not including court costs, which is $826,000 in 1 year. Okay, so, but with some of those facts and the fact that you have to go to court, even if you get a ticket, you have to go in there. If you don't want to send in your $115, you got to go into court on a Tuesday night or Thursday night, whatever night it is, and you got to sit there for 2 or 3 hours. And in some instances, if you show the judge that it wasn't you, then you got to come back another night and show the prosecutor. We had several people come to us and testify to that. So it's a whole thing about having to waste your time when it's not clearly even you. It is a major Constitution issue. Okay, so that's that. Let's just forget about how bad they are and the malfeasance and all the other stuff about these red light cameras. Let's talk about some of the points that were made. St. Peter's is not in a box. It is not fenced. It is not a municipality in St. Charles County with a big fence around it. Speaking of fences, every person in St. Charles County has to drive through this city. Every person has to drive through the city. These are county roads. These are not the City of St. Peter's roads. These are shared by everyone. And so that's the difference. It's a huge difference. Fences and fireworks have nothing to do with it, because if that city chooses to do that, that's fine. That's your city. You guys do what you want to do, but not when it's something that affects every resident in the county. So that's the difference. Also, in what instance do you know of that if you have a business transaction with someone and you don't pay the bill, it's a civil matter, remember? It's a civil matter. And they arrest you and put you in jail over a civil matter? I know it said, well, no court appearance. So that's another major constitutional issue. That's really unheard of. And then you go on and you talk about the charter. Let's talk about that for a little bit. There is municipal government, county government, state government, federal government, okay? As a charter county, we were put in to be, the people voted us in to make these kind of cities, to rule over certain laws and regulations. As a matter of fact, as I brought up before, we did Proposition S. Before you guys know, we were threatening lawsuits. They were doing illegal annexations. They were using eminent domain on private property owners, and it was plain wrong. We put it before the voters, same kind of controversial issues. They threatened lawsuits, want the votes, it won. What about the pseudoephedrine? The county did that too. We went across the board, county-wide, and banned pseudoephedrine. By state law, it's legal, but we did it. What about bath salts in K2? We did the same thing, went county-wide and did it because it was the right thing to do. The no smoking ban, the funny, ironic thing about this is, didn't the municipal league send us a resolution asking us to do a county-wide smoking ban? So which is it? I mean, when do you want us to interfere? When it's convenient to you or when it's not convenient?
They never said that.
Huh?
I'm sorry, they never said that.
Well, all the cities were asking us
Not
to.
all the cities, a few cities agreed, but many did not.
So the charter does afford us the ability for this to go to a vote of the people. And I'll wrap this up, but if you guys read my packet, there's nothing but malfeasance with these things, constitutional violations, and a lot of problems. These are extremely problematic. All I'm asking you guys tonight is this, and it needs to be voted on tonight. If you don't want to support it, just vote it down. Don't table it. Don't use that for an excuse to not vote for it. Just vote no for it or vote yes for it. But here's what we're doing tonight. All we're doing is we are saying to the county residents, you have a right. The county isn't banning this. We're not doing it. We're not going to ban it. The people are going to ban it. And that's the difference. You guys need to get over that. So let them make the decision. Let it be about the people. And this isn't about me and St. Peter's. This isn't Joe Brazel against Boone and Pagano. It has nothing to do with that. And that nonsense needs to stop. This is about in my view, doing the right thing for the citizens of this county and letting them vote on it. Simple as that. If you folks don't think that we're in a position to grant that, then you don't understand the charter that we worked so hard to get. And Mr. Ullman pretty much proved this point when he was questioning one of the charter developers. So that's it for now.
Thank you, Mr. Brazel. Is there any other comments on this particular bill? Mr. Hammond.
I think my main concern tonight is I feel like this is being shoved down my throat. I understand what the people are saying, and I understand the cities and their position, but it's also, I haven't even had a chance to look through this amendment. I haven't had a chance to sit down and talk to our legal advice. It's my understanding there's currently a bill before the state of Missouri outlawing these cameras, and they're still in session. And until that session's over, and if they don't move forward on it, then I would like to come back and visit this and give me some time to consider what's been said here tonight, what's in this bill. And I understand you all, and believe me, I'm tired of government sticking its nose in my business. So you're not telling me that something I don't already support, but give me some time to look this over and make a wise decision. And with that, I make a motion to table.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to table it.
Discussion on the motion?
Yep, we are going to have discussion. I'm also going to, I've been, for those of you who know me, it's very difficult for me to hold my tongue, but I've done it. And I really wanted to hear what the public had to say. I wanted to hear what Mr. Brazel had to say. I have wrestled with this one. On a personal level, I hate the red light cameras. I don't think that they're effective. I know we have the mayor of St. Peter's here, and at least one of their council members. I truly hope that they go back and take to heart the comments that have been made tonight, and the passion that this particular way of enforcing traffic ordinance, what it does to the residents, what it does to give to 7,500 people to get a notice in the mail that they feel like that there's not any way to, there's no remedy to it. There's no way to approach their accuser. It's uniformly thought is unfair. And from that standpoint, I absolutely get what the folks here tonight and the people that sent emails, the people that stopped me at, in my case, at the IGA, where I get the feel for what people really want. They don't like this. Now, and Mr. Brasley, you've reminded me on several occasions that I look at things from a municipal standpoint. I do. I spent many years on the St. Charles City Council. I look at it, that's where I was brought up. That's where I cut my teeth in local government, and I absolutely detest it when either the state of Missouri comes down and tells us how we're going to run things within our own communities. I think that these type of decisions are best made on the local level. That's how I feel in every core of my being. Do we have the right to do it? Do we have the power to put it to the voters? I believe that we do. I also believe I've heard from Mr. Hazelwood and other people that were formative on when the charter first came about, and I absolutely believe that the intent was not for county government to dictate to the cities how to run how to run traffic enforcement within their municipalities. So I'm really torn on this one. And it does come down to tonight is the last night that we have to vote on it. It's unfortunate. We do have the calendar working for us also, though. There is another election that comes up very quickly in November. It will cost the county the same to put it on either ballot. I understand where Mr. Hammond's coming from as far as this is a lot of information to digest. We've heard both sides of it, and I really want to make the right decision. I want to take into account what people have told us tonight, and I will be voting with Mr. Hammond on tabling the bill. That does not mean that I'm going to vote in opposition or in favor of it. It means that I want to take the time to think about it, look at it, and really make the right decision for what's best for the county. It does not mean that I don't have the courage to stand up and do the right thing. It means that I have the courage to make sure that the decision I'm making is what is best for the county. And I know some people will put different spins on that. That's okay. I know when I look in the mirror, that's the reason I'm doing it, and that's the important person that I need to talk to every day. So with that, is there any other discussion about the motion for tabling the bill?
I have a question to Harold on the time frame. Okay. Harold, on the time frame for it to be on the August ballot, how much time do we have in this month?
The deadline for certifying an election for the August ballot is 5 p.m. on the 27th, the Tuesday after Memorial Day.
Okay, so can it be on the 20th, that Tuesday, or do they need time to certify it?
That Tuesday night at 5 p.m., a certified copy of the ordinance has to be at the election authority.
That Tuesday night. So then if we do decide to table it, gentlemen, I suppose that we're going to have a special meeting on that Tuesday. Because otherwise...
Potentially.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to have to deal with this one way or the other, so, I mean, it's the way it'll be on the election, so if that's the table motion, then that's fair if we're going to revisit it on that Tuesday, the 25th or 27th, what did you say it was?
The 27th,
27th?
Tuesday after Memorial Day.
At 7 o'clock. 5 o'clock.
You said it has to be out there by 5 o'clock.
It's got to be there by 5 o'clock?
5 p.m.
It's got to be there. How would we do that if we do this at 5 o'clock?
We'd have to have a special meeting. We'd have to have a special meeting sometime before the 27th.
Well, then we'll have one next Monday. What's next Monday?
The 19th.
The 19th, and we have one on 19th at 7 o'clock, so people can come to it.
We'll discuss that later.
Well, wait a minute now. Wait a second now.
The table
Was the motion
Motion to
contingent?
table it, and we're discussing the tabling of the motion.
Right.
Right, my point is,
But we're discussing the tabling the motion, not a.
no, but that
a-
is part of the table, because my point is whether or not I support the table or not is if we in fact going to table it with in mind that we're going to have it next Monday at 7 o'clock. If that's the case, then I may support it. Even though I don't agree with it, I'll support it in order to get the meeting in on 7 o'clock on that Monday night. Otherwise, you guys can just table it and you'll just let it fall off the, I mean, that's the fair thing to do, to have this conversation. You all said you needed more time. That's a week. It's a 3-page.
Okay, I'm speaking on tabling the bill. If we do table it, then there isn't any more discussion until we take it off the table. So it could linger for a long time. But if we would amend the bill to be put on the November ballot at this time, then everybody have plenty of time. I'm in favor of doing either one. I'm in favor of having a special meeting and voting it up or down, or else amending the bill so it'll be positively on the November ballot.
Michael? I remember what some of you folks said. If that's what John's motion is, to not table it, but just move the election date to November, I would be in favor. I would go with that if that's what this council decides to do. If we vote on it tonight and just move it to the November election, I said I was adamantly opposed to that. And however, to get it to a November ballot, I would agree to that.
But it might cost, but you said yourself it would cost us more money.
I'm willing to take that chance. I'd rather get something done than nothing.
Would you withdraw your motion and replace it with one, put it on the ballot in November?
I'd rather see you take a week and think about it and we vote.
Well, no, then we have to have a special meeting, but that gives you plenty of time and to make a decision.
Dave, Joe, for you first, and then I'm going to come back to Dave. It's actually, you made the motion, and John, you seconded it, or did I get that backwards? You made the motion, right?
Just for folks out here, 2 weeks ago, this issue didn't exist. Okay, I'm saying at the council level, it did not exist, folks, okay? This was the first we heard of it. Was introduced 2 weeks ago. A charter amendment's a really serious thing for us to do. When I've been beat up for 3 years over trying to get this county to vote of the people for a smoke-free St. Charles County. And I realize it took a lot of time, and I banged heads for 2 years on it, okay, over 2 years, okay? That being said, I'm not willing to do a rash decision. I agree with Mr. Hammond 100%. This is being shoved down our throats, and I don't like to do things that way. Yes, I do answer to the residents of this county, but I also answer to God as well. And I took a solemn oath before God to uphold the laws of this county. I tried deliberately to get Mr. Hazelwood to answer whether I'm breaking that vow or not by voting for this. And I've asked other attorneys. I don't have that answer yet. Until I get that answer, I'm not going to vote for this, because my relationship with God's more important than my relationship with the residents. Sorry, residents.
Oh, my God.
Okay, you may not like that or not, but it's a solemn vow, okay? It's a solemn vow that we took. It's a promise that we took, no different than a marriage vow. And it's something that you heard me ask the lawyer specifically. There are laws that are in place that state that we're not supposed to be doing what we're trying to do.
Thank you, Joe. There is a motion that's been made and seconded. Is there any other discussion on the motion that's before us right now, which is to table the bill? No one's made it. It has not been amended.
But we're still discussing.
If we don't table the bill, we can still have more discussion on it.
Yeah, we're not
Okay. I'm not causing the discussion. I'm looking at, everybody's got any other things?
I'll make a motion that.
We can't. We have a motion that's already been made.
Oh.
We have a motion that's made and seconded. It's already on the table. It's already.
I make a motion to override his motion.
No. Good try, but procedure doesn't allow us to do that. Mr. White, do you have any other comments?
My feeling is I would rather vote it up or down right now, but if you need more time, I'd rather call for a special meeting and vote for it before the deadline, if that gives people enough time to think about it.
We have 4 votes tonight to pass this for a November election. Mr. Elam said he would go to November. You'll go to November. If Mike, you said it, I don't know what you said exactly, but I think you said that you may support that if you get more time. And we're letting the people make the decision on this thing, guys. And so in order to make a compromise, I told you I was adamantly opposed to pushing this thing off till November. But if it makes you comfortable and that's the only way I can get this done, then I will be absolutely in favor of it and we'll be done with it. If you think tabling this thing is going to go away, these people aren't going to go away.
We don't need, we know you've been passionate and we recognize that. It's not going away.
No, so I mean, I don't know if the motion.
So procedurally, what we'd have to do is to withdraw the motion to table the bill. If that happened, then we would make another motion to amend the bill, and then we would have an up or down vote on that.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Or table it.
That still pushes it to a decision right now. Because once we say we're going to do it, then I'm going to be committed to it. So.
Okay, then I guess the maker of
the safer version is
the maker of the motion could make a caveat to the motion to table the bill and put a time frame on it to bring it back on the table.
Well, I could tell you, I'm not going to withdraw my motion, but if you don't support my motion to table, then you can vote not to support on the table.
But are you going to put a time? Are you going to revisit, or are we going to set a meeting date as well?
I think we've got time to have that discussion.
If we're shooting for November, what's the hurry? Why does it have
Because
to be Monday?
No, because we didn't decide that. That's only a compromise, Joe. We talked about having it. It's supposed to be in August, but everyone wants to just push it down the hill. So if we do it we haven't decided that yet. Is it going to be November? Is it going to be August? I want it to be in August. So that's what I want to do, and so that we're supposed to collectively come. If you just push it off so you don't make a decision, why don't we, if Mr. Hammond is true to what he's saying, then he would be willing to have a special meeting set up for it, or just push it to November. Then you got plenty of time to think about it. I mean, but I don't understand the big deal here. You're letting the people vote on a charter amendment. Do you really think that our attorneys don't know what the hell they're doing? I mean, we have a team of attorneys. I'm sorry. We have a team of attorneys. They review these laws. We're always going to get challenges. We got challenges with the Westboro Baptist Church.
You're absolutely correct.
They sued us too.
We're moving away from the issue that's up before us right now. Mr. Hammond, would you amend your motion to include a meeting for whatever, Friday before the 27th? I don't have a calendar in front of me. It's at the 24th, 23rd? Then we can put it on for a November ballot.
We would vote for it at that time, whether we would or not.
Yeah, we're going to vote on it.
That's all we're doing.
Right.
We're postponing it for just a short time.
I'd rather stick to my motion, and if you all want to vote it down, that's fine, and you can.
Okay, let's vote it down and then do another amendment, do another motion.
We're going to vote on it. We may or may not vote it down. Is there any other discussion on the motion to table the bill? Seeing none, we'll have a acclamation. Everyone in favor of tabling it, say aye.
Aye. Nay.
No.
And no. So the motion did not pass. Is there a motion to have a special meeting on Friday the 23rd?
Mike, can I make a motion, please?
I'm in the process of making one, so I'm making a motion that we have a special meeting on Friday the 23rd at 4:30 p.m.
That's going to, the only problem with that, what day, Friday, at what time?
Friday at 4:30 p.m.
It's going to be hard for people to make that because they're all work and they want to have a voice in this. I mean, it's got to be at 7 o'clock.
All right. I'll move it to Thursday the 22nd at 7 p.m.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
And again, you want to consider what Mr. Brazel just said about the time. But you could do this your regular meeting by simply moving it up till 3 in the afternoon instead of 7 at night.
We don't have the same issue that Mr. Brazel just pointed up. We don't have time for.
Well, I said, yeah.
Is it, but on discussion of your motion, Mike, don't we have the votes to pass it for a November election? We have the 4 votes. Why don't we just pass it and we don't have to have meetings and have these people come up here? John, you said you'd pass that. Mike will, and then you.
This guy's a good mind reader, because he can pick out where people are going to vote better than I can, I guess. I think that's where we're going to end up, Joe. I believe that's where we're going to end up. The question is, do we want to do it tonight, or do we want to wait?
You guys are going to keep getting emails and phone calls, hundreds of them.
That's fine.
Okay.
Can I ask a question here? Just so I'm following, because I'm sure everybody else is right on point except for me, but we did just table this bill, correct?
No.
We did not.
No.
It failed.
It failed. Oh, I didn't know it failed. I thought we had 4-2.
It was 3-3.
See, that's why I could ask a question, so you know what's going on.
See, you don't read minds as well as other people.
I know. Well, Joe's doing really good at reading minds. I'm trying to figure out what mine is right now, so.
All right.
So is there a second on your motion?
So my motion was to give the people the opportunity to vote on putting it up before the voters on November 22nd. Be the only thing on the agenda.
No, wait, that wasn't your motion.
May 22nd.
Not November. I'm sorry. May 22nd. We would vote to put it on for before the voters in November.
It's not, no, we did not, you're saying table it to have a meeting on the 22nd.
Joe, it's already been tabled.
No, it hasn't, John.
That's right, it hasn't been.
It has not been tabled.
But you can't.
My motion would be to table it.
You're doing two motions in one. You're saying table it for the 7th
No.
and adding it to the November election.
It hasn't been tabled, we're calling for a special meeting.
Okay, and
Rather
Joe,
than vote on
technically
it
Joe is,
tonight,
technically.
you put it in perspective, or else I will.
Right. The motion would be to table it until the special meeting on Thursday, May 22nd, at 7 p.m. so everyone could be here. That's the item that would be on it. So we'd be tabling it tonight, moving it to the special meeting for that Thursday.
And what specifically is going to change between now and Thursday? We're going to get.
I've
studied everything I can. I'm sorry.
I got you. I want to digest what they said. That's what I want to do. I believe that's what Mr. Hammond said he wants to do. If the four others want to do it and just vote on it tonight, you can take a chance that all four of you are in agreement. Or we can go with waiting until next week, whenever the 22nd is.
Is there a motion on the floor right now?
There is. I made the motion. Is there a second? Motion dies for, okay. I'm looking for a second.
I'll make another motion if that motion didn't get a second.
Is there a second?
Well, a little more discussion. What's your discussion?
I was going to make a motion on moving it to November ballot and voting this thing right now.
If my motion that's on right now dies for lack of second, we will address it in Mr. Brazel's fashion.
Okay.
My motion fails for lack of second. Joe, you are free to make a motion.
I will make a motion that this bill goes as, the substitute bill 4082 goes as is and gets put on the November whatever ballot. November what?
So, Joe, your motion is to amend every place that August 5 exists with November 4?
Correct.
Thank you for clarification on that.
That's what I heard him say.
I did too. Is there a second to Mr. Brazel's motion?
Second.
Okay, a couple seconds. Is there any further discussion? God, I hope not. No further discussion. We will have a
roll call.
We'll have a roll call vote just to make sure that everybody's on the same page. Roll call vote on the motion made by Mr. Brazel.
Which will put it to the November.
Which will put it to the
2014
November 4th.
Okay.
Changing everything that previously referenced August and now referenced November 4th.
Okay. Councilmember Cronin?
Run this by me one more time what you're intending to do here, okay?
This is the,
Okay. The motion that's before us now will change bill number 4082, changing every place that had said that the election was going to be in August to November.
and this is voting for the passage of the bill.
Passage of the substitute bill.
No, you're amending the substitute,
We're,
Mr. Chairman.
yeah, we're going to amend the substitute bill. I'm sorry.
The substitute hasn't been adopted yet, and of course it has to be amended before it's adopted.
We're just amending the bill right now. Then we will have a second vote to actually vote it up or down.
So I'll make, yes, I understand. I will vote to amend the bill.
Amend the substitute.
Amend the substitute bill 4082.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, motion passed. Now, the substitute bill has been amended to call for a November election. Now we will vote for voted up or down for the actual passage.
Yeah, you
Of
need
the
to adopt the
substitute.
substitute, and then if it's adopted, then a final
We already
final
adopted
vote.
We just adopted the substitute. We already done that. Now we're voting it up or down.
No,
You
had,
did is
you amended the substitute.
We amended the substitute.
Motion to adopt the substitute 4082.
Roll call vote, please. Mason made and seconded.
I'm confused, I'm sorry.
I thought we passed the
I
substitute
think we
bill.
did.
I think we did too.
Yeah.
And you don't need a roll call vote on adopting a substitute, but you do need a roll call vote on the final.
All right, first we're going to have a acclamation for adopting the amendment.
No, you did that already. Now you need to adopt the substitute
Adopt
as
the
amended.
substitute as
All those in
amended.
favor, aye.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. Now, we will read the bill and vote for it with a roll call.
And this is for the November 4th ballot? It is, okay. Substitute Bill Number 4082, an ordinance calling an election on November 4th, 2014, to amend the St. Charles County Charter in order to prohibit the use of red light cameras throughout St. Charles County, within as well as outside incorporated municipalities. Councilmember Brazel?
Yes.
Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Crum?
Hey, we got a unanimous decision.
I'm going to abstain because I think this was a horrible way to pass legislation, and I don't think all my questions were answered about the legalities of this.
Okay.
The bill passes.
The bill passes, and it will be on the November ballot. Thank you very much. We appreciate the public input, the public comment. Took a while to get there, but we're there. So I will wait for a few moments before we continue our meeting if anybody wants to leave now. We do have some more business that we need to take care of, so we'll pause for a moment.
I'm going to go to the restroom.
Sorry, man. I couldn't. I don't want to go against it, but I tell you what, it's a lousy way to do business. I agree.
We're good.
I'm going to have a discussion with this man.
We're having,
I don't appreciate that at all.
Here's the other thing. What happens if the state legislature enacts something that's totally different than this in the next week?
the good news is we still have time to pull it off of the ballot.
This is the Hazelwood and Weber Employment Act of 2014.
This is going to cost $1 million. This is going to cost $1 million.
I don't like to see you guys this way.
It does. I don't know if...
We're going to bring it up on a work session. We're changing council rules. We're no longer going to amend things and vote on it. That's baloney. That is absolutely wrong.
The charter allows that. You don't need that amendment version. I had two months to look at this. I think there's a grammatical error.
Actually, it's council rules.
Huh?
We can make council rules that are more restrictive.
You're about to go this tonight, but I have class, so I'm not going to be here.
I was working with it, Dan. Okay. Joe, are you leaving or are you coming? Okay. All right. Clock is still ticking. Let's
Go back to that agenda. I think
all right.
Bill 4083.
We are at bill number 4083. If you would read it, please.
Bill Number 4083.
I'm sorry, everybody. We're back in session again, so if you can keep your conversations to yourself, we'd certainly appreciate it. Donna.
An ordinance calling elections to amend the St. Charles County Charter, 1, by making its provisions on conflicts of interest applicable to candidates for county office and county officers-elect, 2, by prohibiting lobbying by former elected officials of St. Charles County until 1 year after they have left county office, and 3, by prohibiting former elected officials of St. Charles County from holding compensated appointive office or employment with the county until 1 year after the expiration of the term for which they were elected.
Okay. Is there any discussion on bill number 4083? Mr. Cronin.
I don't think it's tough enough, okay, comparing to Wentzville's and some of the other ones, but it's a start in the right direction. And if I'm not mistaken, if we adopt this, Harold, can we make this tougher down the road by ordinance?
We do have provisions in our ordinances on conflict of interest that are in fact a little bit stronger than the charter prohibitions. We could make some changes in our ordinances.
Okay. Specifically, I should say, if we wanted to ban campaign donations from individuals doing business with the county to elected officials or appointed officials or elected officials in this county, can we do that by ordinance down the road?
I'd like to advise you about that after the meeting.
Okay.
I thought that was unconstitutional, but we'll have a separate discussion on that later.
Okay.
Do you have anybody else have any other questions on 4083? Roll call vote, please.
Bill number 4083, an ordinance calling elections to amend the St. Charles County Charter by 1, making its provisions on conflicts of interest applicable to candidates for county office and county officers-elect, 2, by prohibiting lobbying by former elected officials of St. Charles County until 1 year after they have left county office, and 3, by prohibiting former elected officials of St. Charles County from holding compensated appointive office or employment with the county until 1 year after the expiration of the term for which they were elected. Councilmember Elam?
Yes.
Councilmember Klinghammer?
Yes.
Councilmember Hammond?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Cronin?
Yes.
Councilmember Brazel?
Okay, next we have bill number 4084 for introduction. I'm moving forward to bills for introduction.
Bill number 4084, requested by Wayne Anthony, sponsored by council as a whole, an ordinance amending sections 410.210, 410.220, and 410.320 ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, OSCCMO, relating to subdivision plats.
Okay, is there any discussion on it? Seeing none, if you read the next one, please.
Bill number 4085, requested by Wayne Anthony, sponsored by Mike Elam and John White, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Weldon Spring for code enforcement.
Any discussion? Seeing none, read the next one, please.
Bill number 4086, requested by Wayne Anthony, sponsored by Joe Brazel, an ordinance establishing the Meadow Brook Estates Road Neighborhood Improvement District and ordering the preparation of plans and specifications.
Any discussion? Seeing none, read the next one, please.
Bill number 4087, requested by Joe Brazel, sponsored by Joe Brazel, an ordinance amending sections 405.060, 405.080, and 405.520 of the Unified Development Ordinance of St. Charles County, Ordinances of St. Charles County, Missouri, regarding the AT Agricultural Tourism District.
We had quite a bit of discussion still on that. Let's hold off on introduction of that one for a moment. We'll discuss it with Mr. Brazel when he gets back.
You can amend the agenda by moving it
We'll
down.
I make a motion to amend the agenda to move that to the bottom of the list of bills for introduction.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Skip that one, move on.
Bill number 4088, requested by Craig Tarkowski, sponsored by council as a whole, an ordinance establishing new traffic regulations and establishing penalties for violations thereof.
Any discussion on that one? Seeing none, hold off for just a minute. Joe, while you stepped out, we moved bill for introduction 4087 that relating to AT.
Okay. Yeah, I'll revisit. I'll talk to some of my constituents and we can all weigh in on it.
Okay, so
to the end.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
We haven't introduced it
Okay,
yet,
thank
so
you. Okay,
figure out
thank
what you want to do on it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You might want to just not introduce it at all until later. So the next one, please, Donna.
Bill number 4089, requested by John Greifsub, sponsored by council as a whole, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a supplemental CMAQ program agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for the Gateway Greenlight Program, Federal Project CMAQ 7302638.
Any discussion? Seeing none, read the next, please.
Bill number 4090, requested by Betty Jan Kramer, sponsored by Mike Elam, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a 20-year lease agreement between St. Charles County and St. Charles Community College for an 80-acre tract of land to be developed as College Meadows Park.
Any discussion on that particular item? Seeing none, read the next one, please.
Bill number 4091, requested by Harold Ellis, sponsored by council as a whole, an ordinance authorizing the county councilor to execute agreements with other governmental agencies, including the Missouri State Highway Patrol, as administrator of the Missouri Statewide Criminal Justice Information Systems, or CJIS, and the Regional Justice Information Services Commission, or REGIS, as required by law for the security and use of criminal justice information provided or held by the county councilor's office in prosecuting violations of ordinances in the county municipal court.
Any discussion? Seeing none, read the next one, please.
Bill number 4092, requested by Julie Eckstein, sponsored by Mike Klinghammer, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute an intergovernmental agreement for financial assistance grant 2014-002 between St. Charles County and the St. Louis Jefferson Solid Waste Management District for receipt of funds in an amount up to $70,000.
Any discussion on that one? Seeing none. Mr. Brazel, on bill number 4087.
We have 4093 yet.
Oh, we got 93. Oh,
Bill number 4093, requested by Steve Ellman, sponsored by Mike Klinghammer, an ordinance amending the 2014 budget adopted by Ordinance 13092 relating to authorized personnel within the Department of Dispatch and Alarm.
Okay, any discussion on that one? And in my defense, it was not in the white book. So, Mr. Brazel, would you like to not introduce 4087?
I'll introduce it, but we can always table it later. I just,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
technically the bill has been introduced
Okay.
because it's been read
All
by
right.
title,
It's already
but
been-
you
What I
moved
was trying to-
discussion of the bill down
Okay.
to the end.
What I was, we have discussion about it. All I was trying to do was avoid any confusion with some people thinking that we've already moved forward with the plan without their discussions. That
Okay.
was the only reason I was suggesting that we maybe not introduce it, knowing that there's going to be changes to it.
I think what we'll do is and if anybody when the council wants to be involved, I'll meet with Wayne and some of the wineries and have both perspectives sit down with us and try to hammer something out. This is somewhat of a complicated issue, you know, and maybe you guys can bring a fresher perspective to it because I live out there and it makes it very sensitive because when you live in the country, if you're 5 miles from someone, they're still your neighbor, so you kind of want to, you know, be delegate, so to speak. But
Harold, can we table it now so that the residents don't think that it won't show up on our agenda as for final passage next time?
And I'm sorry to jump Harold's claim here. You can also, if you're worried about that, Mr. Brazel and 3 of you could remove the bill back from being under consideration and withdraw it.
oh no, I don't want to withdraw it. I mean, this has been in motion for 3 years. Mr. Hayes would spend a lot of time on it. I think it's worth consideration. I think that we can table it now or whatever. It doesn't, you know.
I just don't want your people to think that we're going to vote on it at the next council meeting.
No, then I make a motion to table Bill 4087, and we'll have further discussion and further meetings with all parties involved.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Okay. Now, is there any activity on the other tabled bills? Seeing none, is there any announcement or miscellaneous activities?
I do have announcement miscellaneous. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Any announcements?
Oh, I
Do
just.
you have an announcement?
Well, no, I just was going to, I don't have an announcement, I have a question, and you can answer it in a very delicate way, but is progress being made, again, on the farthest southwest road that we've ever had and owned?
There is continued discussion and progress, and I'll be happy to brief both you and Mr. Klinghammer and any other member of the council about that matter.
Are we to a point where we need a closed session on it?
We might be in about 2 weeks.
Okay, well, let us know as soon as you can, because that's a very hot topic in my area.
Is anybody not using the road?
No, it's like a logging road, but people still use it. Yeah, a lot of hubcaps in the ditch.
Okay, there's no one else?
Chairman?
Yes.
I know that Mr. Hollander hated to miss all the action tonight, and I don't know how many of you know this, but for your benefit, the people at home, he was inducted tonight in the High School Football Coaches Hall of Fame. And there are many people in the High School Football Coaches Hall of Fame in Missouri. And there are also many people in the Basketball Coaches Hall of Fame in Missouri, but he's the only one that's in both. So
That is
congratulations
quite
to
the
him.
accomplishment. Terry certainly touched the lives of a lot of teenage athletes and students. Any other comments? Seeing none, motion to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Amen.